Steve Dell'Orto, welcome back to the Preconstruction podcast.
Hey Gareth, I've lost track. Is this my third one, fourth one?
I tell you what it is. It's been a year since we caught up. Would you believe? It was at Advanced, well, almost a year. Advanced in Preconstruction 2024
Oh,
over
at our
beers.
happy hour.
Oh, what
Too
a
early,
happy hour that was.
too early to have a pint, at least on the West Coast.
Big
I'll
time.
take the water.
Plenty of time for that in San Diego.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's coming up in May.
Yeah.
Advancing construction.
Big time.
Everybody better go.
Excited
Come hang
about
out with
that.
us.
We're giving away a free ticket. We're holding a golf day. We're going to be at Concentric's happy hour. It's going to be epic. And it's getting bigger every year, Steve.
It is. It is. I think, it speaks to everybody really waking up to the fact that technology is more and more critical to being successful in the business. I think pre-construction specifically with this conference, I love because it's just really given the voice to what is the least, the most underserved portion of the project delivery lifecycle, but it's the most critical. So just the irony of how important it is and how little the industry has given the people that do this day in and day out, really the tools and the attention for them to be successful. So always excited for this one, but the happy hour is going to be fantastic. So stay tuned for the details. But anybody listening to this, sign up and be a part of it because we had an absolute blast. It was a rager last year.
And it's, you know what, it's a reflection on the numbers as well, Steve, because I mean, from 4 years ago, I started going five, I can't remember, but the numbers are getting bigger and better. The floor, the tech companies are getting bigger and better. The collaboration, that openness is you can see it all over the place.
I mean, I actually spoke at the very first one when I was at Clark Construction, just from a thought leadership perspective, and did I think all the subsequent ones leading up to COVID. And I think there was a year or two gap. Obviously, it was a little bit of a funky time. And then since then, now as ConCntric, we've been going every year. And I've seen that growth too. And the messaging and the content is it's getting better. And I just applaud Hanson Wade and I just love the community that's been created with the focus around pre-construction.
And the community segues beautifully into our next topic, folks. On this podcast, you're going to hear about three things. You're going to be hearing about the Built by Builders community. You're going to be hearing about an update on ConCntric. And we're going to talk about what's being talked about in my community at the moment. We've got a pre-construction and estimating community. And every day there's a new topic, but what keeps coming up is knowledge transfer or knowledge retention. The topic of these geniuses that are leaving our industry not only right now, but in the next 5 to 10 years. So those are the three things we're going to talk about. The first topic, built by builders. Steve, if you could give us an idea of what built by builders is, if there's people here that haven't heard of it just yet.
Yeah, I founded Built by Builders because, and what it is a network of construction tech companies and their solutions that have been founded by people from within the industry, whether they're project managers, safety leaders, you name it. But the fact that they'd been in the industry, not for a year or two, but literally, for 10 years, leading what they've done within a general contracting company or a subcontractor. But the cool thing is they lived and breathed the pain that they just said, I can't do this way anymore. I'm going to actually start a company to solve this. And, that's my story as well. As we were engaging with our customers and prospective customers, what right out of the gate became painfully clear was that there's definitely a value that people see in a company that has been founded and includes expertise from within the industry, as opposed to outsiders that are just purely technologists, if you will, that have come in to just solve problems for construction without having that context and those hard lessons learned and really knowing the plight of the user and what they're facing every day. It's really hard to for me, it's unimaginable. How do you produce a quality product without having that sort of in-depth experience and knowledge? So Um, it, that being a thing that the market, the customers were valuing and seeing in us, it just made sense to say, hey, can we make it easier for the market? The market being contractors, owners, architects, doesn't matter. But when they're wondering, okay, I need a solution for something, they have a place to go to say, hey, maybe there's within the Built by Builders network something that fits my needs. And when they go there, they can learn a lot. They can also see other options that they might want to consider for other needs as well. So, we're here to really make that accessible, to make it very known and out there that there's a place to go to find solutions that have been built by builders, which arguably gives them a much greater degree of confidence and probability of success that when they buy that tool, it's actually going to do something really great for them and make their life easier, better, more predictable.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're a GC and you're hearing this and you're dealing with someone that's been there, done that, even getting onboarded or talking about the tool, it must be you're just basically talking at the same level. It's almost talking shop, but also talking tech as well. Because obviously Built by Builders is a community of 8 now, right now. I mean, even the trust within those 8 and being able to share success stories and failures and getting there quicker, that must be invaluable.
It is. I mean, anything you can do as a team, is beneficial to all. So, there's uh, obviously internal sharing that we can do amongst ourselves, but really this is more externally purposed to just make it very easy as people are going through these critical buying decisions to have access to, a place where they know any one of these companies, has the chops to, deliver on what it is that they're promising. I mean, this is not unlike like Intel Inside. The sticker on a PC tells you that the brains in that laptop, that there's a legitimate chip in there and that this computer is gonna really perform.
Yeah.
It's, very, very similar. And, just a shout out to the member companies. We have, Document Crunch for all things from a contract perspective, and Clear Story for change order management once you're in construction. Toggle AI, in terms of AI-driven automated takeoff solutions. Project Mark is doing an amazing thing with a industry-specific CRM solution. Salus is focused on safety and how do you really put the power in the hands of the actual folks on site to do the right thing and be safe. And Plot organizing, focus on helping organize the job site for the superintendent and that logistical dance that's being done on any given job site on any given day. And then Castor is unique in that they're kind of focused on the relationship between the subcontractor and general contractor and how do they take a lot of the administrative burden off of both parties and make things a lot more streamlined to knock out a lot of those basic fundamental paperwork items, if you will, that you can just have people focus on getting the job built. So really proud of the group that we built, as this collective. And if you're interested, just go to builtbybuilders.com and, any one of those you can click into or all of them and talk to us.
Brilliant. And if there's anybody listening here and they've got a tech idea or a product and they're looking to get involved with Built by Builders, just a matter of reaching out to you or some of the team and getting involved.
Yep. I mean, we're here to help promote the, inclusion of technology and how we make our industry better. And we're coming at it from that level of experience, quite honestly, in both worlds, the traditional general contracting or contracting world, as well as the technology world. So we're here to help anybody and
Brilliant.
every.
And what can we expect coming up by Built by Builders? Obviously, I've seen a couple of your webinars. Is there any events or what can people do to get involved?
Yeah, because we're all different with the different areas of focus. We're coming together to do webinars, maybe not all 8 of us at the same time, but different combinations of us talking about things that we're most passionate about or we think are going to be impactful. There's happy hours at all the different events that we will be attending. So, for instance, at Advancing Pre-Construction, the happy hour that we have is going to involve us, Toggle, Project Mark. So it's a built by builders oriented event. But yeah, there's going to be more and more, and we'll see where this thing grows.
But
We're really excited about
the
it.
response has been really positive because you only when did you found it? It hasn't been that long. It's already 8 members. Getting the word out there. How has that gone?
We formalized it, call it right at the turn of the year. So this is our first quarter, first year of formal existence, but we've all been coordinating amongst ourselves informally to find ways of doing things. I've had a number of them on doing a podcast of our own a while back. So we just decided it's time to really formalize this and put some resources behind it, which we've done.
Brilliant. There you are, folks. Buildbybuilders.com if you're interested in anything else. Now let's hear now about ConCntric, Steve. We caught up a year ago. It was full. It was flying at Advancing Pre-Construction. The stall never emptied. What's the updates? Any product updates? Obviously, AI. Everyone's talking about AI. Have you integrated AI into the platform? What's the latest there?
Oh yeah, I mean, a year is like dog years in software. I mean, it's like the equivalent of 7 years that we've packed into the year. I don't even know where to start with all the great stuff that we've built into the platform. I mean, fundamentally, our focus at ConCntric is to, really be that single source of truth and that one comprehensive hub in which you do all of your pre-construction work. Now, that also involves data and an integration and interface between the estimating calculators that people are using, which we are not, causing that change. This is merely to take that estimating function and the data that comes from estimating and broaden that out to support the other folks involved in the planning and pre-construction of a project. There are people interfacing with the client, their client, people interfacing in like a design management capacity with the architect. None of that's served by an estimate or an estimating solution. So, our focus is how do we make life easier for everybody to access that estimating data, leverage that for all the 30 to 40 other workflows that are involved in pre-con, do it in a much more visual way. And how do we get rid of these Excel spreadsheets and all these independent fractured workflows, consolidate and digitize them into a platform so that way you can be ultra efficient. People are doing pre-con oftentimes for free. Why rack up the bill to do something free when you could chop that into a small fraction just by taking all that manual, tedious work out of off the table? So, as we've continued to expand the platform, I've lost track of what we even had at the time that we last met, but we've released our concept hub. So, when a project executive or a pre-construction executive or a business development person is engaging with an owner, they'll get questions all the time. Hey, I'm thinking about developing this multifamily housing tower, or I've got a budget that I got to put together for this, high school expansion project. Rather than having to go back to the estimator, we built a solution that can leverage the historical data that our customers have in our platform already to really automate the extrapolation process they're going through to come up with that just really raw, undefined concept budget. It's not even an estimate, right? It's just square feet, whatever the unit driver is, and leveraging all of their historical data of a like projects type to then bring that forward and create that starting point. Typically, that's taking people hours, and they're doing it in made up spreadsheets. And the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So we've created something that really brings the power to everybody to do that literally in a snap.
Wow. So
Um,
that's an interesting one because I can hear the estimators and the pre-con manager listening to this, turning around and going, hold on a second now. I get calls maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I'm in the middle of an estimate, a middle of a design build, I see I'm at risk. And all I get is project directors, project executives ringing me up going, I need this. I need this. Can you do this? So stop what you're doing in the middle of an estimate. Give me 3 hours of your time and throw me up a conceptual estimate so they can just bypass the estimating team, go into the platform, put in the details, and hey presto, there's a visual of what they're thinking.
Yeah, and you know, it's not about bypassing the estimating team. It's just you have the data and it's pretty much the same data that everybody would be drawing from anyway. It's just making it easier for people to do something. If they're in that time crunch and they don't have the time to have the estimators get involved, they're going to make something up anyway. So why not have something available in a much more structured control fashion to ensure that what is generated is really makes sense and is consistent and done properly. And so, you know, again, we're giving them that power. We're expanding the power across the team to be able to do that. When I was at Clark, I'd get calls all the time from clients, developers, public owners. Hey, Steve, just need to populate a pro forma here. I'm actually considering buying a piece of land, and I just need a pro forma something. What is it going for these days? Well, I had a choice. Either I'd have the information handy or in my head, or I'd have to go grab time that I needed my, you know, estimating or my pre-con team focused on, you know, the things that they were doing, rather than just answer this random call. And so now that would have given me a much more accurate, systematic way of responding to those calls. So really excited with all of the it's very dynamic. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And then layered on top of that is what we've always envisioned with their platform is, you know, the state of the industry is such where all of these workflows are largely in Excel. So you've heard me say this time and time again, that isn't real data. You know, that's not structured and it's not accessible. So our first base was, all right, let's go from literally Excel, like being pen and paper, to more digitized versions of what they're doing. So that way that data can be structured and be more useful to our customer. But now the the next step is, all right, now that that customer has a good amount of data, now what can we serve them with from an AI perspective in our agentic AI approach so that they can do and challenge their data to generate, whether it's a report or an analysis or do some of that work without having to do all the manual setup. I mean, it's extraordinary the time savings and the additional power to the analytics that you bring to the table when you make it really, really simple. And then, like, I'm not even talking about a fraction of the time. I'm talking about hours and hours and hours in the old manual way. And we're talking about seconds now with the stuff that we're building. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking to estimators now that are coming through, graduates coming through, even up to people with 7, 8, 9, 10 years of experience, that's the one pain that they have is doing the mundane manual labor that they've been doing for the last 7 or 8 years. They almost want to move away from it, not just within their company and their responsibilities within the role, but they want to move away from it to be able to do the exciting stuff, the stuff that they believe would add real value to their clients and get their clients excited.
Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, the doing of the work is one thing, but you also need to be able to share that and present that in a way that the client, the architect, even your own internal team members can understand and digest. And so what we continuously always produce in our platform are different ways that you can visualize the information, the data, the output of what you're doing yields without you having to have the second step of, I did the work in Excel, but I can't present this. This is rather ugly, and only I will understand it. Now you got to go put it in PowerPoint or pretty it up in some way. All of that is just like one stop in our platform. Everything's presentation grade. So we're constantly producing different ways that, you know, customers can visualize, present information to their customers across all facets of what we've built, whether it's the procurement oriented stuff that we have on our platform, the design and budget alignment suite of tools that we provide, you know, the risk focus, the scheduling. I mean, all of that highly visual, pattern recognition, and all the things that you can do once you can actually really visualize over time what's going on that project. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that concept hub sounds unbelievable. I mean, when you think about it, and not only what I like about it as well is not only does the project director, project executive go and get the numbers from the platform, because otherwise they just go back to maybe a couple of projects or even just ring up a few subs that they know and put the numbers out there. The estimators and pre-con professionals that are working on the platform can then go back to the project executive and go, listen, you give this client, say Google, this kind of concept. Where did you get the information? And he can just go, oh, it was all in here. Boom. And they're all on the same page.
And we have more and more of our customers, their clients, or even people that are in that owner category coming to us directly now, where they're not just developing one project and that's it. These are people that's their business, is whether it's a CapEx program, building out university, series of facilities over 10 years, or it could be a data center provider that's just cranking these things out. um, the ability to for the owner to also see across many of their projects. Maybe it's with that one general contractor, or maybe it's across an array of general contractors. But owners are also struggling with the fact that when they have multiple projects, they've got different GCs doing pre-con in different ways. And that comes to them in a way that now they've got the added work of trying to make sense across the different methods and formats. How do they normalize that data? Because, they're obviously looking to take their past project experiences and be able to extrapolate for themselves what is, what is maybe an early pro forma level hard cost assessment of what we want to, what we're dreaming of building, or just monitoring how all of these projects that are in the middle of design and pre-con, how they're faring, contingency availability, how do they really have a better look at balancing the books across the whole CapEx program.
Well,
So part of what we do is support them. I mean, just by having the data, but also the workflows that properly structure what's driving, what's behind that data, and how do you present it in a way that answers questions and helps people make quick, smart decisions. I mean, it's unbelievable how powerful our platform becomes, like, week after week. It's phenomenal.
it's amazing when you put it like that on from the owner side, as you say. Let's use data centers for example. If you have got a huge data center builder that's going to build number of data centers over the next decade, to be able to use multiple general contractors who, let's be honest, all work differently, to be able to basically get the almost standardize the data that they use and give them previous data as well to be able to improve the cost and basically reduce the risk. That must be huge.
Well, I mean, it's huge for all parties. If you think
Yeah.
about it, our platform helps a general contractor, our customer, kind of elevate their game, right? With data, structured data, things are going to be much more accurate, predictable, with less effort, on top of all the other benefits, number one. So you're really helping the GC be more successful by, having a better plan job that then goes smoothly in construction with much more predictable results. Well, that benefits the owner as well. Because if you don't have this right, or if this is kind of done in the status quo way, well, the owner's just going to suffer the same old results: over budget, beyond schedule, all the challenges. So if we solve it at the root, like we are doing with the general contractor, it makes life a lot better for the owner. So it makes sense for the owner to encourage this. And when you're talking about the volume of work that these data center providers are producing, I mean, you're talking about billions of dollars. And when you're talking about simple percentages, I mean, 1% improvement in the process yields enormous amounts of savings or avoidance of unexpected costs. It's
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer in my
It,
mind.
it's a no-brainer. And funny, when we're talking about data centers, I had one of the main guys out of Rosendon on recently. The electrical package they are getting, the electrical package of these data centers is covering almost 50%. What about the subcontractors? ConCntric, it's open to the subcontractors. They're involved in the platform as well. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the industry has evolved, right? We've gone from hard bid to now let's have the general contractor play a more active role early on. Whatever contract delivery method doesn't matter. The contractor now has a seat at the table, oftentimes for 12, 18, 36 months. I mean, so you're in there just as early as the architect and you're working it. Well, more often than not, a lot of these key trade partners, mechanical, electrical, some of the structural trades, et cetera, are being brought in either a design assist or a design build capacity. So they're very integral to the success of the pre-con planning effort. So yes, they absolutely do come into the platform, alongside the general contractor to contribute just in the way that the contractor, architect, and owner come together to collaborate. And at the end of the day, everybody's benefiting because if the job is planned better, it's going to go better for everybody. And everybody's doing this to try to squeeze out a fair reward for their effort. So, make more money. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Funny, I heard a statement from a pre-con director the other day. He says, "Listen, I don't know why we're all fighting with each other. Everybody knows the numbers. Let's just share the information, reduce the risk, and keep your margin." And everybody understands it. It seems like maybe it's a historical thing. It's a DNA thing within construction. They're more inclined to hide information or risk just in case it puts somebody off. Whereas once everyone just be upfront and honest and be clear about the types of margins that they're making, then the risk just falls through the floor.
Yeah, that's a topic for a whole nother conversation. It's
Yeah,
fundamentally the balance of the risk and how that contract is set up. So I totally empathize with everybody in that conversation, the owner and their needs and perspectives, as well as the builders. But fundamentally, if you can de-risk the project and guarantee a better outcome, you can make huge strides with just modernizing the way we're doing things. The variability with Excel and people able to just gin up whatever they want, that's becoming more and more dangerous. Gareth, you and I have talked about this numerous times about we've got more people exiting the industry through retirement, et cetera, and that's a brain drain. And we have never recruited enough nor trained enough people fast enough for that to be like a one-to-one relationship, handoff. And so you really are running at an ever increasing risk level with younger people, less experienced, and through no fault of their own, trying to do their very best, but you don't know what you don't know.
yeah,
And so when you can kind of move your company away from the wild west of Excel spreadsheets into something that's still flexible, but it's got some guardrails around it and it's got resources available to that individual to get up to speed a lot faster or to be able to reference information much more conveniently, you're making this whole situation far more fail-safe. But right now, I mean, that's what kept me up at night, among a few things. My time, leading a general contracting company is you just got people and you just have to trust that they're going to do the right thing. But, experience counts for a lot. And we have less and less of that available. And you don't even have enough people. So, you also need a force multiplier that also unburdens people's time from doing all this manual, silly stuff. Let a computer or just the magic machine, whatever innovation it might be, to do that and take that off of the human. Because when they can actually shift their focus on doing the things that we ought to be doing as humans, planning the job and leveraging the creativity, communicating, and bringing people together to discuss options and issues, just the thought work, the success of the project goes way up for everybody, and the level of enjoyment for people goes up for everybody. And so it just makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And that segues nice into what you're discussing, knowledge transfer and knowledge retention. Do you find when you're dealing with your clients, when they're talking about concentric and just in general talking about their issues, knowledge retention and knowledge transfer? I know you're speaking about this topic at a future event. It's Future Tech, is it?
Yeah, the ENR Future Tech in the first half of May here in San Francisco. And yeah, I'm on a panel, and I think ENR did a great job thinking about topics that are so critical to today that aren't necessarily wrapped around technology, but just simply with people, moving on out of the industry and not enough people coming in. How do you transfer that knowledge of all things? And that's a big problem. And that doesn't get solved with technology just on in its own. But when you have so much of the lifeblood of a company just trapped in people's heads, and when they leave, you've got no way to access it, that's that's scary stuff.
Yeah.
And so, people do mentorships. There's a number of different ways people are trying to kind of do a peer-to-peer transfer. But that often breaks down really quick because people get really busy and they can't connect. So I think the industry is really searching for how do we solve this problem, knowing it's not one of these silver bullet solution problems. This is gonna require several different things that companies and the industry at large need to close the gap on, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that happens, Steve, is they just ring me up and they go, Gareth, I need three pre-construction managers. I've got four directors and they're all 65 and they're going to retire within 6 months. And to have that problem or to not have thought about that problem 6 months before they retire, it is all sorts of carnage and pressure and risk and just panic stations. So talk to us in relation to that, how important technology is, because people think, oh, technology is going to come and replace me. It's not. It's going to be an accelerant of what you're capable of. It's going to allow you to increase your capacity and do the things that that pre-construction managers and senior estimators love, but particularly the knowledge transfer and the knowledge retention. Talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. Like I said, there's no silver bullet, but technology can play a big role in the solution. And technology being more than just, oh, if I could find a piece of software that enables this knowledge transfer, okay, that could be one solution. But fundamentally, when you have graduated from the Wild West and it's the myriad of Excel stuff that people just make up to a platform, use Concentric as an example, you know, the the information and experience from a pre-construction perspective, when you have those type of people retire, I mean, I've seen, worked with some amazingly brilliant, front end people. They almost have their own cost database in their head. They can sit in a meeting with an owner and say, oh yeah, curtain wall, that's going to run, whatever, $80 to $120 a square foot, depending on what we pick. And they could talk about somebody with like 3 or 4 years of experience. They can't have that same conversation. They don't have that in their head. Number one. Number two, there's the proper way of addressing the 30 to 40 different, what I always refer to as the 30 or 40 different workflows involved in planning a job well. And so if they leave and you've just got a relatively young department, they don't even know where to start to actually do the work because that experienced person can just slam together an Excel spreadsheet or something to address that workflow and get away with it. Well, imagine if you actually have the digitized version of everything that those experienced people do. That is what these younger people engage with. And there's no really other option that this is how they do pre-con. You've put some guardrails on, you're giving them an established machine to throw their inputs into, and then they get an output that's much more predictable and safer for the company in a fraction of the time. So knowledge transfer from a technology standpoint is just simply developing a much more predictable, instrumented way of doing the job that those soon to be retired people are doing. And you're taking a lot of the mystery out. I mean, you're solving maybe 60 to 70% of the knowledge transfer problem by just simply using modern software and having everybody, using it. Now, there's other things, the skills, how do you address and react to situations? I mean, those are life skills, those are interpersonal skills that there also does need to be some form of knowledge transfer that's really not a technology, um, you know, capable solution. You got to get other programs in place to help do that. But again, it's if you can solve 60 or 70% of your problem, like that with adopting a piece of software that's purpose built to do what you're trying to address, you're years ahead of just about everybody else. So why not?
100%. And those soft skills you talk about, you know where you learn them, Steve? You learn them about 5 o'clock, half five, down the pub on a Friday, speaking to the project manager and superintendent, and him pulling his hair out and learning various mistakes. And it's funny you said that about the graduate thing, right? And even you mentioned 3 or 4 years experience. The podcast's up to 140 episodes now. I always ask about their education program for various universities, various colleges throughout the US, and the amount of pre-construction and estimating modules or time that goes into those degrees is very small. So the workflows within technology, you will probably learn more in the first 6 7 weeks of using a piece of technology that has a clear workflow of how you do your job than any degree or any education.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that goes, you can go to a construction management program and learn about all the processes and everything. But I can tell you firsthand, when you actually start your career, you're learning in a much different way. It's good reference and context, but the actual doing and kind of the real world, that's truly where you're learning.
Yeah.
And you got to be around people that are willing to invest the mentorship and the training. But again, it goes back to the problem. We have our average experience level is steadily dropping,
Yeah.
right? Because as all of those people retire and the disproportionate levels, that experience level is dropping quickly. So you have people training other people that they themselves haven't yet even mastered their own craft.
Yeah.
So it's just a reality. There's nothing you can do to rebalance the books, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, what we know is the demand and the need for things to be built is continuously growing. That's not slowing down. But we also have the opposite happening when we talk about that talent deficit. So you can't recruit your way out of this problem. You can't train your way out of this problem. That we just don't produce enough humans to actually fill the gap. So the whole force multiplier is super critical, and people actually investing time and energy as leaders within general contracting companies to address it and make it a priority. We need the force multiplier. We need to really drive some standardization and modernization of our systems because then we can fail safe this and then we can start to actually still maintain a high level of output without having a commensurate increase in the number of inputs, i.e., humans that you have to hire to do the work.
Yeah. And you know what's exciting about this? And I know we're talking about, you know what's exciting? See the startup general contractors over the last 8 or 9 years that are pre-construction services or front end focused. They are absolutely killing it. They've got the people, they've got the technology, and they've got the foresight to understand the importance of pre-construction. And they're just growing so fast, but they're growing in a way that it's sustainable, and it's progressive. So they're not just doing the same way. They're always being agile. They're pivoting. They're bringing on more partners. They're bringing on more trade partners earlier. They're getting the best projects. So in that side of it, it's unbelievably exciting. And anybody that doesn't keep up with that is going to be, and it's going to be too late. So I mean, it's almost too late now. But the old Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree? 7 years ago. When's the next best time? Is today. So the people that are going to go say, no, no, I'm going to leave it for another 2 or 3 years, see how I get on. It's problems, problems, problems.
Well, it really is. And yeah, well, but what we're seeing though is, I mean, first of all, if you look at some of the more macro information between like FMI, DBIA, all these different associations, and you tie it all together, basically by the end of this decade, only 12% of all projects will be done in that traditional hard bid, design, bid, build fashion. So you got 85% of the $14 trillion that's built throughout the globe every year is going to be requiring some level of early involvement, early planning. So the demand for this is not decreasing, it's only increasing. But what we are seeing, which is encouraging, but maybe a little later than would be optimal, is people realizing pre-con is super important. The people doing pre-con are incredibly valuable to us as a company and should be treated as such. I mean, it's only now that people are really starting to celebrate and invest in, the front end, estimating, pre-construction, design management, these career paths. And, way too late to be acknowledging how critically important that phase and those people are. But now we're there. But now they're also realizing our process, and we got like largely Excel spreadsheets, we got a point solution here and there. This is like band-aids and baling wire, and we're really, really vulnerable for just errors, omissions, and it's absolutely inefficient in the use of our people's time. So they start doing their research, and when they come upon Concentric and they realize the platform approach and the spectrum of solutions we've already built, when there's more to come, they get really, really excited that it's checking the boxes of all of their strategic plans, all the initiatives that they go through to say, hey, we need to address this problem. But I've been there before. I remember my time at in the contracting space. Every year we'd put out these big goals of like, all right, what are we going to do to address, in this instance, pre-con? And it would be like 3 years, 4 years. And I was like, well, we haven't moved the needle much. We all got busy with our day jobs. Here we sit.
Yeah.
So
And the pre-con department are pulling their hair out with the amount of work going through and the pressures, and again, I mean, we're talking about getting people into the industry that they can't live under these pressures without the help of technology or extra resources. So but I agree with you that the penny has dropped. I mean, you talked there about, I mean, to me, the salaries, we did the 2025 pre-construction estimating salary survey recent, and it is only going one way. They are understanding that people need to be paid for the work that they're doing and for the expertise that they're bringing. So, I mean, to me, it's very, very exciting. Steve
and on
Dell'Orto.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, on the technology front, you know, to your point about the proverb, I also like to use about the tree. This is not a function of like whether you choose to do it. If you don't, just know your competitors are. And we're seeing it statistically with the number of people coming to us. And I think in this race, the minute you get even a half stride behind on the technology side, it's going to be extremely hard to catch up and get back in front of things. And so it's just this groundswell, soon to turn into a tsunami, I think, where, people really need to dig into it and get ahead of it. And why not participate in the development of it as opposed to just waiting for like perfection to land on your door before you, decide to engage with a piece of software. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
you're,
that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. They can tell their story now, and they can actually manipulate what's been built and how it's been built to satisfy them. Because you know yourself, getting something that is absolutely perfect for everything it's really difficult. So if you can go in there now, test something, give advice to these tech companies, I mean, it's unbelievable in 6 months, 12 months to be able to go then and purchase something long
yeah,
term that can do
yeah.
everything. Yeah. Love it,
Oh, I
Steve.
interrupted your close. Go ahead. Wrap it up, bud.
I loved it. I'll use yours. And I want to use this as well. So, Steve, we've talked about three things now. If there's anybody, built by builders, concentric, knowledge transfer, if there's anybody's got any follow-up questions, where's the best place to get you, to get built by builders, to get concentric?
I mean, I love getting connected with people on LinkedIn. Reach out to me personally. Come to our website, concentric.com, ConCntric.com. Get there directly. Directly, you can get there through the builtbybuilders.com website. But just talk to me, talk to our team. We're here to engage with you and show you, how we can help, solve the challenges that we all are under here in the industry. So that's really the best way.
Brilliant, folks. There you are. In the show notes below, you will have Concentric and you will have Steve's LinkedIn as well for any follow up questions. As
And put
always,
Built by
Steve,
Builders in there too.
Built by Builders will be in there too. We'll put as much as we can in there, folks. And as always, pleasure. And I will see you on the golf course in San Diego.
Go US.